welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, my name is Nicole and I make bookish content. Today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in the month of January. I am so sorry guys. I don't know how to say this other than to just say I desperately failed. I read 7 books in the month of January, so not even close to the 22 books that I wanted to read. I think part of that was because I was a bit intimidated by all the books in my TBR, and I was just kind of busy. I had a Marie Kondoing kind of phase where I was going through my wardrobe and all my items and trying to figure out what stuff I wanted to keep and what stuff I wanted to sell, and that was really time consuming for me, especially in the month of January. So I'm going to blame it kind of on that, kind of on how intimidated I was, and just say that I didn't do my best. I did read some good books though, and I'm excited to tell you all about them. So let's stop talking about me and start talking about the books that I read. So the first 3 books that I read in the month of January were books 10 to 12 in A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. This series follows 3 siblings who are sent to live with a distant relative named Count Olaf after their parents are killed in a horrible fire. Count Olaf ends up being a horrible person who treats them super unfairly and just wants to use them for their inheritance. This series follows the siblings as they attempt time and time again to escape his clutches and finally find peace and happiness. I enjoy this series a lot, and every time I've given it a review, I rated it 5 stars. However, this time I just felt like the series was dragging a little bit, and it was just getting so unbelievable to the point where I was just starting to doubt that there were any good people in this universe. I do feel like there are interesting new storylines that are added and new characters, so for that part of it, I appreciate and enjoy it. I just kind of want to rush through the last book because I'm so close to completing it, and I just want them to have the ending that I want. I rated these past 3 books 4 stars because they were super good and nostalgic, but like I said, they did tend to drag a little bit, and I found myself skipping over certain parts that were just unnecessarily wordy. So the next book that I read in the month of January was Wintersong by S Jae Jones. This follows Leigh, who is an average looking sister with a secret musical ability. She's not really appreciated in her family or the town, except in her childhood imaginary friend adventures with the Goblin King, who is a legendary figure that no one really believes in anymore. One day, her sister ends up being stolen by this Goblin King, and Leigh ends up embarking on this underground adventure to rescue her sister, where she realizes that maybe her imaginary childhood friend wasn't so pretend after all, and she might feel something more with the Goblin King, who was the only person who admires her soul and gift for music. I rated this book 5 stars. I honestly wasn't expecting it to sweep me up as much as it did. This is a wonderful romance story that had a lot of whimsical, magical descriptions and horrific, disturbing details at the same time. The author brought this book to life for me with the character development, and I really shipped the main love interest. I saw that there was a sequel, and I wasn't really happy with how the book left off, so I'm hoping that it's going to tie up the loose ends and give me the ending that I want. The next book that I read in the month of January was One by One by Ruth Ware. I initially had read Turn of the Key, which was my first book by Ruth Ware, and I was really surprised at how much I loved it. It was so creepy and atmospheric, and I think that's just one of Ruth Ware's talents, is really setting the scene and allowing the reader to immerse themselves in the storyline. This book was definitely no exception. One by One is about a social media company called Snoops that goes on a work retreat in the French Alps. The company stays in a lavish ski chalet, and all is going well until one shareholder pushes for a buyout and tensions start to simmer. As an avalanche hits and one co-worker doesn't end up coming back from a ski trip, panic grows as co-workers start dying one by one. Can they determine if someone's responsible for all these deaths, and if so, can they stop the person before it's too late? This book was a solid 5-star read for me. I know it has really mixed reviews, but it just hit the spot for me personally. I was super lost in the world about 20 pages in. I think I only spent 2 sittings reading this whole book, so clearly I was very into it. I would definitely say that I was engaged the entire time, and I was surprised enough to appreciate the plot twist of this thriller. I did really enjoy how the story ended. I feel like that's not always the case with thrillers. It's kind of like a hit or miss for me when it comes to the ending. I would recommend this book to anybody who enjoys atmospheric thrillers or just kind of wants a quick getaway to somewhere exotic and dreamy. The final 2 books that I read in the month of January were the first 2 books in the Shadow and Bone trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. So the first book is Shadow and Bone, and the second book is Siege and Storm. And as you guys can see, I marked these up with all my sticky notes expressing my emotions. So as you can tell by all the various colors, I was in for a roller coaster of emotions. Shadow and Bone revolves around Alina Starkov, an orphaned girl who ends up enlisting in the army in her war-torn country. When she and her regiment travel through the notoriously deadly Shadowfold and end up being attacked, Alina unleashes this magic that she didn't know she had. Quickly, this discovery results in her becoming a part of the Grisha, who are the magical military elite, and she's introduced to a world filled with royalty and lavish luxury. She also ends up meeting and kind of having a thing for the Darkling, who believes that Alina holds the key to getting rid of the Shadowfold once and for all, and potentially saving her country. I decided at the beginning of the year that I would be following along with the GRISHAVERSE read-along hosted by a bunch of my friends on booktube. If I remember, I will leave the read-along description in my information. I honestly wasn't sure what to expect when I picked up this book because I had heard a lot of good things about it, but I was kind of neutral about picking it up. It just wasn't on the top of my list. However, although this book is a bit more gruesome and gritty than I normally would read, I really enjoyed it, and I love the heartbreak and glamour and magic that takes place in the series. I have to admit that I was shipping certain characters throughout the book, and I'm not really happy that that didn't work out, but I'm coming around slowly to the idea of new opportunities. I also really enjoyed the second book, Siege and Storm, and actually I would say that this is my favorite out of the two just because it left me in a small reading slump after finishing this book, and I was destroyed. I was crying so much in this book. I don't think I'm gonna wait very long to finish the third and final book because it was just that good and I need to know what's gonna happen. But yeah, definitely go out and check this trilogy. I cannot recommend it enough. I did not come into it with any expectations, and I definitely had my mind blown with how great of a series it was. So although I didn't read as many books as I would have liked, I did read some solid books. I think all of the books that I read besides the series of Unfortunate Events were all 5-star reads for me. So if you like fantasy or thrillers, like definitely go check out the books I recommended to you. I hope you'll not be disappointed. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I would love to know in the comments down below what books you guys read in the month of January, and if any of the books on my wrap up interest you in the slightest. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!